Oil, acrylics, watercolor. Those are the mediums which I've used to paint really big artwork so far. With acrylics, it was a complete PC. With oil, it was a huge canvas. Those are the dimensions we're talking about here. But it's almost too easy when you can just paint over a big area like this. A real challenge would be to draw an artwork stroke by stroke on such a large surface. Exactly, that's right. With ink. I know what we'll be doing for the next 2 months. Oh, hello. I didn't even notice you over there. Yeah, alright, I know that's a cringy start. As much as I love painting, I think most of you guys know that I'm much more of a drawer at heart. I mean, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have written a complete book about it. And the coolest thing about drawing something is applying the finishing touches with ink. I've always wondered when I might have the chance to ink something on a massive scale, but I never really had a good idea for an artwork that I could ink on such a big surface. Something in that style would work best with an ancient looking motif, because cross-hatching always looks like something out of an old-timey picture book from the Middle Ages. But now this is where Elden Ring comes into play. You know this game, it plays in a fantasy medieval world. I got to play it back in 2022 when I was in bed with COVID for a week, and it was hands down one of the best games that I've ever played. I literally did nothing else for a whole week since Breath of the Wild. No video game had me addicted on this level, and I've always wanted to make a fan art of it. No, on second thought, I did make fan art of it. Several times even. I've already posted a couple of them on social media, but these artworks always had an anime look to them. I definitely wanted to draw something that does justice to this epic game and overwhelms you just like the game itself would. And if my drawings would actually turn out to look like one of these awesome drawings from the Middle Ages, that would really be a match made in heaven. So there's a lot to do. Let me take you with me on an almost 2-month journey from early December to late January. Art supplies and pens that I use in this video are, as always, linked in my art supply list on my website, and otherwise, well, I hope you enjoy.
Foul tarnished, in search of the Elden Ring, emboldened by the flame of ambition. Someone must extinguish thy flame.
Now the first hurdle was to find paper, because on Amazon or anywhere else online you legit can't find the option to buy a single sheet in A2 size. So I had to, against my will, go out into the outside world. And for the first time in a very long time, I actually went to a DIY store. As I said, I hardly ever do that because I always need really specific stuff like G-pens or deleter ink or manuscript paper. But in this case, it was a really good way to get my hands on an A2 size sheet that I actually wanted. The sheet was even a bit larger than A2 size, and as you'll see later, that might not even be a bad thing. Most of you probably already know, but here's a comparison on how big an A2 sized sheet is compared to a regular A4 sized sheet. Yeah, this video now officially gets the size difference tag.
Smash.
And now I can finally start drawing. Right? So I'm still about 13 hours away from that, because that's how long it's going to take me to come up with an idea. You know, I always design my stuff digitally first, so I get an overview of the artwork and know what it looks like as a whole. I've talked about this in my tutorials and books countless times now, so I won't explain it in detail again. Working on a tablet's also pretty cool because I can move around individual components on this thumbnail sketch independently. The initial idea behind this drawing was to draw all of the Elden Ring bosses in one artwork, but that would be too much even for an A2 sized artwork, so I decided to draw all of the bosses that are somehow related to Queen Marika. I think symbolically that's quite cool because all of the characters practically stem from one source, namely from the Queen in the middle. I also made myself a list here because I knew exactly that with over 10 characters, I would easily lose track of how many I've already done and how many I still need to draw. And then I tried to find some cool poses and positions for the characters, check out that they all have the same size, they would all have enough space, etc, etc. Now this part with finding an idea was like 4 or 5 hours and was a lot of headache to figure out where everything goes, and I was constantly writing things down that I must not forget later on because it's kind of important. Because if you make a mistake while planning this artwork, well, I think you can imagine. The next step would be to just draw each of these characters in detail now. And when you look at the designs in Elden Ring, screw it, I should have just made a Kirby fan art. So I have to say, this part here took easily, and I mean easily, another 8 hours. But I didn't really find this part very difficult or tricky because I already figured out the poses and sizes for everything. I also don't need to be scared about damaging the paper by erasing too much, so there's absolutely nothing I have to be afraid of later on. For now, I didn't go into extreme detail because I'll just do the really detailed stuff directly onto the paper later on. And now, the next part would be tracing. After I put everything back together. You know, the artwork's too big for my printer, so I have to print out this artwork piece by piece and then put it back together like a puzzle. And now, once I'm finished with the preparations, everything sketched out, printed and traced onto my paper, I'm finally done for now. Like I said, details like the armor are something that I'm just drawing when I'm inking directly onto the paper because I don't want to draw things like these twice. So that was only about 16, 17 hours of preparation before we can finally get started. And okay, at the side of an A2 paper, you might think that this is big, but my dick is bigger. Now, when I was tracing my art onto the final paper, I actually noticed that even though this paper might be big, it still doesn't leave much space for details. I did not expect that. So a face here is only the size of like a centimeter, so it's doable, but I actually thought it would be a bit easier at this size. And yes, before you ask, there will be a chance to get a print of this finished artwork. I'll be talking about that at the end of the video. But where are my manners? I haven't even shown you the full artwork yet. So let's do that next. Here at the top is Radagon. He's missing an arm because he's somehow partially made of smoke. Drawing him with only one arm looks kinda weird, but that's just how it is. Next on the left is Radahn, one of my favorite parts of this drawing. He's gonna be the highlight of this artwork if I manage to draw his armor correctly. And yeah, that thing below him is a horse, not a penis. Below him is Rani. She has actually 2 faces, but I'm glad I even managed to get half of it here. So her face is literally half a centimeter big. There is no space for another face here. Below her is Renala. You can see I didn't feel like drawing the entire head while tracing, so I'll just freestyle all of that later on when I ink all of it. Now that's Malekith, a good boy. Most of the time. I just really like to draw animals, and Malekith with all the black and the armor is so damn stylish, but I already know that I'll struggle a lot with that Super Saiyan 3 looking hairstyle. That's Margaret? Or something? I don't know, man. I played this game like 2 years ago. What do I know? Besides, I can't even memorize the name of this incest family anyway. He actually has a cane that is in reality a sword. With all of these characters, I always wanted to show the weapons or some other characteristics of how they fight. I referenced Godric's pose down here from the trailer because it really fits phenomenally. It fits very good. You know, it's at the end of the artwork and he lowers his head and all. And besides, this guy's got a face only a mother could love, so I'm doing him a favor here. Speaking of ugly characters, Moke here on the right actually fights with a trident, but it's almost twice as big as he is, so that wouldn't have fit onto the artwork anymore. He's got a really cool design coupled with the most annoying boss fight in the entire game. I also referenced Melania's pose from the trailer where she loses her arm. I needed something dynamic, and with the way that these pieces fly backwards with that pose in combination, you really can't get more dynamic than that. Yeah. I don't even know how this guy looks like. Next one. Oh, also one of my highlights of the drawing, Godfrey with his lion. I already said it earlier, but I really like to draw animals. I just had to add his lion to this artwork as well. And I know the pose here is really stiff and all, but I just had to take Godfrey's iconic pose from the artwork, so I can live with that. Above that is Rykard. He was extremely easy because his face is just so big, and Miquella is literally just a hand in an egg. And finally in the middle, Queen Marika, Christ herself. Actually, there was a lance that was piercing through her stomach in the game, but I left that out because that makes her look so asymmetrical. And I don't like that. Okay, and now that you know what I'll be spending the next month of my life on, I would say, let's get to work. Jetzt wollt ihr es endlich sehen. Hier ist es. Das Dinner 2 Elden Ring Artwork. Also mein Ziel ist es, damit bis Ende Januar fertig zu werden. Ich sehe so winzig aus im Vergleich zu dem Plan. Ja, das ist mein Stift. Babymasse. Alter, ich komme mir so klein vor im Vergleich zu dem Artwork. Also näher als so komme ich nicht ran. Das muss mich schon echt strecken. Ja, lacht ihr nur. Ich werde euch alle umhauen. Ich hätte richtig Bock, Godfrey und seinen Löwen zu winken. Ja, und dazu müsste ich erstmal die beiden hier fertig. Ich glaube, mit den ganzen Details so, das wird, glaube ich, richtig übel, aber wir werden sehen. Wir haben es fast geschafft, Leute. Wir haben es fast geschafft. Let's go.
I doubt you could even imagine it. That which commanded the stars, giving life its fullest brilliance. The Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring. Shattered by someone or something. Don't tell me you don't see it. Look up at the sky. It burns.
That was the longest I've ever worked on an artwork in my life. 37 hours, 40 hours if you count the work of printing, piecing together and tracing with it. So if that's not worth the like, then I don't know what is. I have two very important things to mention. First, a very big thank you to Tom, who edited a lot of the first part of this video here, because I was busy filming the very first episodes of Art 8. And secondly, yes, you now have, probably for the first and only time, the chance to pre-order a print of this artwork in my online shop. Shipping sadly only works for smaller A3 sizes for the international orders, so I hope that's okay for you. For all pre-orders, there's a small bonus like last time, namely a certificate of authenticity for this print, signed by yours truly. As you can see, you will get something really fancy here. Now, I usually don't actually sell fan arts, you guys know that, but as I've told you guys on stream several times, I quit my job 1 month ago, and let's say the income I've made from these 40-hour live streams isn't really paying the bills, if you know what I mean. So yeah, hope you guys can forgive me for having to make up for the lost money by selling these fan arts. Now, this was definitely a lot of fun. If this video performs extremely well, or the algorithm likes it, or someone reacts to it, or people just like to see me suffer for 40 hours, I've heard that squeezing all Pokemon into one sheet of paper could also be very entertaining. We'll see. Either way, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys the next time here on my second channel.